Hi guys, this is Guitarist Denis Taaffe, and I'm in Bloomington, Indiana, in my home studio, and I want to welcome you to the making of my 316th album. And the album is called A Modern Rock Guitar, Volume 316, Hyrdroelectric. Okay, and real quickly, for those who aren't familiar with my music, I'm a guitarist, and I play guitar, electric guitar, and guitar loops done on the fly, which means while I play something, I record a little part of it using a pedal board, and it starts to loop, and I layer different guitar parts over that. And then I also emulate bass on guitar, usually dropping it an octave and then looping it as well. And then other crazy guitar sounds. And all my music is improvised on the spot. So basically I'll come up with an idea and start to improvise over it, and then see what direction it leads me in, depending on the ideas that I have for it. And so I don't add any overdubs after the fact and things. So really it's kind of as if I was playing live in the studio, and really what you're hearing is exactly what's coming out of my two amplifiers that I record here in stereo. Okay, now I do some editing, and it's either because an idea I didn't like during the recording session, or I made a mistake note-wise or sound-wise, or my darn studio chair was creaking, or that kind of thing. So I kind of clean that up, and then I master it, bringing up the levels, those kinds of things. But it's kind of home mastering and things. Okay, let's take a look at the cover real quick. The cover was basically just a picture that I found that I thought looked really neat. And it's free for commercial use, so I added a picture of myself there, and it was, kind of reminded me of the waterfalls there, kind of like Niagara Falls and things. And well, I've actually been to Niagara Falls, and I got up close to where the water comes over and falls over, and when you're there in person, you realize how much power it takes, how quickly that water is going over. It's really something to behold. You wouldn't think it'd be that big a deal, just water going over a waterfall, but this is high pressure. And I think that day there was some guy, I think he was trying to go over it in a barrel. I wouldn't recommend that, I don't think. Okay, anyway. So let's take a listen to this album, and I suppose there could be potential changes because I haven't submitted it yet, and I just got it done. Tentatively, it's 7 tracks. It's 48 minutes and 45 seconds. It used to be 52 minutes, but I cut out some things that were super repetitive or had some chair squeaks and those kinds of things, to get down to the essential tracks. And because I haven't submitted it yet, I don't know what the names of the actual tracks will be, so we'll just refer to them as track 1 through 7 here. Okay, And this very first track starts the album on a downer. Man, this was a, oh, that's right, I forgot to mention, for those who don't know, of all my albums 0 through 200 are rock albums, and from 200 on, so 200 to 316, are more kind of a film type music, which I really enjoy, influenced by Tangerine Dream, John Carpenter, things like that. And so this track is perfect for like a horror movie, or psychological thriller type, a crime in progress type film scene. And you'll hear it's real low, and I'm using this Yamaha, it's a Revstar RS320 guitar, and it has 10s on it. And man, I'm hitting the open E string, and it just sounds really big on that particular guitar. So it works really well for this. Now, before I even play it, I already know throughout some of it there are some kind of some really subtle like chair squeaks, or where I'm kind of swiveling in the chair, and I'm hitting switches on my pedal board and those kind of things. And man, I normally, I try to cut those out. It's not very musical, you know what I mean? However, on this track, I left a lot of that stuff in. I mean, you can barely tell. But I mean, you've got to have some pretty good speakers to hear it. However, it just adds to the eeriness of the track. And basically, it's cut into 2 tracks. Okay, you'll hear it in the beginning of track 1, and then it comes back in track 5. But track 5 is much livelier, has a lot more guitar in it and those kinds of things. And not quite as dark. But I wanted to, I started off the recording session playing that. And so I thought, we might as well start the album that way. So let's take a listen to it right now. Here we go. There's that E string, open E string. Yeah. And that's actually an open E with a B power chord. And this will be an open E with a C. And what you hear that might sound like a keyboard is another guitar part. And it has a super long delay on it. And so it's a delay trail that you keep on hearing, and it's almost constant. Even though the actual chords are changing, that trail is constant. So it makes it sound like a kind of a real subtle type of keyboard type sound. There was one of the chair creaks right there at 1 minute and 15 seconds. And here I haven't even added the bass emulation. Let's fast forward a little bit. Let's go to the 429 mark. Yeah, so there's that bass emulation I've added as well. And the track's starting to build. And what's really interesting about it is that it's really dark. I mean, this is obviously it's not a happy track that you can shake your booty to. Okay? It's not that kind of music. It's not that kind of track at all. However, that being said, when you listen to it, it builds a tension, kind of an uneasiness, but you don't realize how dark it is, really. You know? So I really like it as far as film music would go. Kind of scary, I guess. Not scary, but you know, kind of uneasy. I don't know how you call it. Anxious, maybe. Okay, so that's the first track, and we'll come back to that track, the second part of it, which is track 5, and you'll see the big difference between the two. But I just found this, you know, the track 1 is just, man, pretty dark track. Yet it's not really depressing, you know, it's surprising. Okay, let's move on to track 2, and most of the tracks in this album are pretty long. Track 2 is a 9-minute track, and originally it was called Clone. And let's take a listen to that. I don't remember exactly what it was. Oh yes, yeah, I really like this track very much. So there, I've got 2 loops going. One is where I'm playing double stops on the guitar, just regular guitar sound. And then you hear that da-na-na-na-na-na. That is a hot sauce algorithm preset from the H9, Eventide H9 pedal. Makes your guitars kind of sound like a keyboard. And previously I'd only been using one preset. So here I've loaded another one, and this is the first time I've ever used it. And you'll hear that I used it in another one, you know, and I'm not sitting there going, da-na-na-na. Basically, you hit it once, and it'll play da-na-na-na. So, you know, you hit it basically every, I think it's 1 beat per measure, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Right? And so here I tried to incorporate it. This is the first time I tried that. And there's my familiar pattern playing, which I really like. It's basically playing a repeating pattern on the guitar and with delays. And the delays are synced to the tempo of the track. And then I layer, you know, several loops of that together as well. Okay, so let's fast forward that since it's a very long track, and let's go to the 6-minute 11 mark. Now there I'm using that kind of a harmonized guitar. It plays a note normally and then an octave above. And so I use that to add little fills and those kinds of things. I've got quite a few layers of loops going here. let's fast forward to the 8-minute mark. So there I'm just adding fills and those kinds of things. Yeah, I really like that track. Yeah, I do. And it's unfortunate, I think near the end I heard another chair squeak. Yeah, that's just not cool because I have this chair, you know, swivels and things, but it creaks. But it's a really awesome chair to play in. And I have another chair I just got, and I haven't switched them out yet. Now, obviously, the new one doesn't squeak like this old one does. Okay, anyway, let's move on to track 3. And it's 5 minutes, 34 seconds. Let's hear that one. What can I tell you about this one? Those are some more kind of a harmonized guitar, and I thought it'd be neat to see what happens if you take a harmonized thing, a harmonized theme, you know, and play off of that. Now this one I heard at the beginning, I heard some chair squeaks, so I might have to cut that down a little bit, get rid of those. There's that pattern playing that I like so much. And I've noticed on that Yamaha guitar that if you switch pickups and things, it really switches the where it sits in the mix. Like you can have a layer of repeating patterns up here, and then another one higher, and it sounds like 2 different tracks, whereas you could put them both together and mix them into one. So it really fills out the track, makes big tracks. Yeah, and I really like that. That's my favorite pattern playing right there. Okay, let's fast forward a bit. 3-minute, 25-second mark. Pretty similar, I guess. Now there I'm using those delay trails again. You know. So every time I put in a regular guitar fill, it's leaving those trails behind. Delay trails. That's where you play a note, but has a really long delay. And you leave those delays, they're kind of constant. It starts to sound a little bit like a synthesizer. Yeah. So I really like this track. So here I am, I'm just having fun finding guitar parts and layering them one on top of the other, trying to expand the track and guide it in directions musically. So here you'll notice the pattern playing getting louder, and the original theme is still there, but no longer the focus of the track. Alright, let's move on to track 4. And this one's a real long one too. 9 minutes, 37 seconds. Let's take a listen to that one. Yeah, I like this one as well. So here I'm starting with a kind of subtle, it is still pattern playing. As you'll hear, those delays are going on, but it's a lot more subtle. they're playing double stops on the guitar. And these are wider intervals. There was a little chair squeak, but not too bad. I mean, it was not crazy. But I might have to look at that. I might have to cut off, because they're right at the beginning of the track. So I might remove those. And the only way to do that really is to cut the track and fade it in. You know, where you cut it. Yeah. Alright, let's see where this one goes here. Let's fast forward it. Yeah. 4:19 mark. Let's see it. Yeah. This track is very curious, because I tried to use some chromatic lines in it, where it goes, instead of A to G, you know, it'd be A, and then, you know, G sharp, and then G, or, you know, where it's chromatic, kind of. That's where you're not skipping any notes, you know. So half steps, you know. Anyway, and well, the problem is when you do that, and you're playing loops, well, that's very difficult for everything to fit correctly. That was kind of an experimentation. It worked out okay, I think. A lot more difficult to play two because of that, you know. Alright, let's go to the 7:47 mark and take a listen to that. Okay, there's a pattern playing. There's that little chromatic movement. So it worked out pretty well, really. That was just something to kind of challenge myself, you know, instead of just relying on what's simple, you know, for me to play anyway. Yeah. It's kind of neat because it gives the track a kind of a unique twist in a way that you're not expecting musically. Alright, now let's move on to track 5. And now here on track 5, what's interesting about this one is, remember, this is part 2 of track 1, which is that really dark track. And you'll hear here how it's different. In particular, I've added regular guitar, however, with a really big reverb as well. Kind of make it eerie, you know, as if it was in a cave. You know, you can hear it there. Alright, let's take a listen to that. So there's that guitar that I've added. And so here, I'm playing in double tracks in thirds. Major and minor thirds. Yeah. Track. It's not, obviously not a real happy track. fast forward a bit. But I could definitely see this kind of track in a, horror film or thriller film or something like that. Okay, anyway, here's the 3-minute, 28-second mark. So there's the neck pickup there. And those notes right there are kind of a Wes Montgomery type thing, where you use your thumb and you play octaves. That way it gives you that kind of octavey sound. Alright, and now I think there's going to be some little pattern playing. I don't know. Oh, hold on. It started over, so hold on a second. Let's go to the 3-minute, 50-second mark. Yeah, there's that Wes Montgomery style octave. A lot of jazz guitars do that. There's a pattern playing. Got real repetitive. And notice how it's not blending with the track. That's one of my fun things to do lately is I've been playing the patterns and then putting fills in, right, and then going to a different pattern. Sounds kind of neat. It sounds like different guitar parts, but it's really, just one. Okay, let's move on. Now, these last two tracks were recorded in a different session. And actually, a couple of the tracks from this new session, which I did the last two tracks here, 4 tracks are for the next album. And these have, I don't know if I was in a good mood or what, but I came up with some musical ideas that I really like. I think the tracks turned out really well, as a result. Anyway, let's take a listen to track 6, and here it is. Yeah, I really like this track. It's quite a contrast from the last track, which was real dark. This one's much more happier, and you can see this in many different situations. There, I'm doing the little guitar swells. Okay, let's fast forward that to the 4-minute track, so I guess we'll go to the 2-minute, 56-second mark. So there I've added some guitar leads there. And now added some pattern playing layers as well. And here I kind of heard of a high chirping sound, and what that was is really, in this little room, the microphone for the amplifier, unfortunately the pedal board's right nearby, and some of those switches, are clicks, you can hear them when I switch to a different sound, that kind of thing. Anyway, I really like that track. But there's another one, and this one it might even be my favorite track on this album. Possibly. I just really like it, and it's because the melody is real simple, and I'll show you that. It doesn't come in right away. The bass is built on that pattern playing, and so let's take a listen to that one. Here we go. Really kind of setting up the basis for the track right there. Let's fast forward a bit. It's a long track. It's 8 minutes and 57 seconds. So we'll go to the 4-minute 51-second mark. Yeah, or let's do it a little before, because I want you to hear that melody that I really like. And what I like about it is that it's kind of abstract. It's real subtle. And you have to be kind of patient for it to come in and to make sense as well. So let's see where that comes in at. It's pretty close. Wow. So it must be probably okay. Let's go to I guess the 147 mark. And unfortunately, I use the hot sauce preset, not the new one, but the old one, and I used it, with that Eventide H9 pedal, and so here it is, and this is right at the beginning of the track. Now let's see if we can pick out that melody. There it plays an octave, right? Yeah. And it works really well with the rhythm underneath it. Day, you can pop this on, you'll feel much better. No, but I very much like this kind of music. And definitely that little melody ties that kind of everything together, The rhythm by itself, it's like, yeah, okay, okay, but it doesn't quite make that much sense. But then when you have that little melody over it, you're like, yeah. So I could see this in all kinds of film scenes, Yeah, probably one of my favorite tracks on the album, and yet it's pretty darn simple, really. Now, we can fast forward it, and basically I think I layered some of the little keyboardy sounding track. I don't remember exactly. Okay, let's go to the 7-minute mark. It's, 2 minutes before it ends. Okay, what I did is I actually took one of the little synth sounding, melody tracks, and it's actually playing backwards. And it's kind of interesting dynamic, if you'll hear it here. So there I've actually got 2 layers of those guitar kind of synthesizer sounding things. Yeah, see, we've got 2 layers there. And let's fast forward to where one's playing in reverse. Here we go. Pretty decent way to end a track, I guess. I wasn't sure what the outcome was going to be, but I tried it. And I'll tell you, so that's it. That's the entire album. And I know here we've skipped around and things. I can tell you, I did a lot of driving this past week, and I had this, the draft of this album playing. It's a real smooth album, I don't think that quite comes across in these making of videos, where we're skipping to this and that. But if you just let it play, you'll notice that the tracks seem to fit real well, almost as if they're telling a story, and it's real smooth, the transitions and so on. Anyway, I'm very pleased with this album. I guess that last track, I really like it, and don't forget it's all improvised, so, I suppose I could have cut it down and, try to make it, radio ready or whatever that means. But basically, make it perfect and that kind of thing. But I think this one, it gets the point across really well, especially for improvised. And, yeah, so I really didn't cut much of it out at all, Yeah, and I also like that first track, but man, it's kind of dark. But it fits so well in the album, So that's it. That's Modern Rock Guitar Volume 316. Right? Hyrdroelectric. It's 7 tracks. I may go back and, cut out the very beginning where there's a little chair squeak or something like that. It's not, it's not marred with terrible glitches or anything. It's just, you can kind of hear them here and there, which is okay here, but obviously I'm going to try to switch out this chair, because once they get kind of squeaky like that, there's not much you can do. It's sad though for me, because I do like this chair. Okay, so that being said, I also have 4 tracks done for Volume 317, coming soon. But I'm very pleased with this album. I think the musical ideas are really good. One of the things I've been trying to do is use a lot of layers, but use them in a way where it doesn't sound like just a cluster, of tons of loops at all, And I think I've did a pretty good job here, considering how many layers I was using, you know. I think just on my pedal board, I think I've got four layers, right? But each of those layers, then I can layer additional loops on each of the four. And when you start to count them up, you know, it can get messy in a real hurry. So I really try to be conscious of that and be real careful of that. And sometimes when I come in, bring in a solo, you know, is I would remove some of the loops as well. I didn't really used to do that all that much. But here, and it makes such a big difference as far as spacing goes. So yeah, very pleased with this album. Should be out by the time you see this at, you know, cdbaby, iTunes, Spotify, or whatever. You know, all those things. You know, and I'm really pleased. You know, one of the reasons why I went with cdbaby is they'll never remove your album. So years from now, hopefully, this album will still be available, which would be great. And I won't need to reissue it, you know, and that kind of thing. Or, you know, maybe years and years from now, it'll still be there. We don't know for sure. Hopefully, you know. Anyway, yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I think good musical ideas and I think good execution, especially loop-wise. I think there was one track where I did cut a loop before it ended, and that gives you kind of an abrupt cut right there. But then it goes into another section, so you can kind of get away with that, barely, you know. And that's the thing. This is when you improvise, not only within the song, but you improvise the song itself. You don't get to go back and change anything, you know. It's what you play is what you get. So, if anything, it's honest, you know. And honestly, a lot of times, you know, I'd much rather hear something like this than I would, you know, a super polished radio-ready track where everything is, you know, perfect, obviously manipulated. You know, it wasn't that way originally. It's been manipulated into this false, plasticky perfectness. You know, kind of like, you know, auto-tune or the vocals and things. You know, it's just fake sounding, you know, every perfectly in tune, you know, and things. And originally, and the singer is not, you know. I think people realize that when they hear it, you know. Anyway, but yeah, I do really like this album very much. In fact, listen, I remember one of my favorite recordings was a Tangerine Dream recording. Tangerine Dream is a synthesizer band. They did a lot of film soundtracks. They're from Germany. And I remember that I heard this little recording. I had a recording, I think it was like, I don't know, it was only like 20 minutes or something, 25 minutes. And it was from a radio broadcast. And they were actually playing it live at the radio station. And, you know, and there were some glitches here and there, but man, I just love that. The overall feel of that recording, you know. And a lot of times, you know, I'm listening to the radio with stuff on the radio, I don't get that feeling of it at all. I think some of it's just a little too polished, you know. That's just me. Anyway, alright, I will see you next time Hopefully with volume 317. We'll see. Alright. Bye.